Voice answer time is one of the important features of stops in different languages. Uh, why it is important and what's the importance which is attached to the measurement of VOT? VOT is important for various reasons. Like VOT, it can give us some knowledge, some understanding about the nature of languages. Like what's the shape of stops within different languages, or like how different languages they act and how the speakers of different languages they pronounce various phonetic sounds differently, right? So that's one important feature of VOT. And then we can also talk about the VOT perception of bilinguals. Like in order to produce an appropriate VOT, like an appropriate shape of stops of English, we can also work on the teaching of VOT to students, and this can also give us an opportunity to describe not only the nature of sound but also the learning and teaching of sounds, right? So that's the bilingual perception of VOT. And then we can also talk about the specific values of VOT in different languages, like which language has which specific VOT in which specific category of stop, right? Within voice stops, then within voice unaspirated, and then aspirated voiceless stops, right? And then we can also talk about the phonemic contrast, like in which language this VOT is really the positive VOT, like in the case of voiceless aspirated stop, in which language it is phonemic, right? Like in the shape of Urdu, in the case of Urdu, this aspiration is quite, phonemic. We got per, and then another phoneme is per, right? J and then j, right? Similarly, ch and ch. So this phonemic, feature of aspirated sound, which can be determined by the description of VOT, is also important for studying through classifying the VOT of a language. And then the possibilities of voicing, like is it only that the voice and voiceless contrast is important in a language, or is there any other possibility like the aspirated in contrast with the voiceless unaspirated sound, right? So we can also study that in this VOT discussion. And then specific methods are applied for describing and measuring the VOT within languages. So let me just give you the method to discuss the important features, contrastive features within, plus the positive VOT and then the negative VOT. So here is a possibility that how can you describe this, like the articulation time voicing, which is given in this diagram, right? The stop occlusion when the closure is starting here. So this is the closing point, then occlusion phase when the blockage is there. So this is the closure, right? The blockage is there. And then the stop when the stop is released. So that's the release of the stop. And then what is happening there after the stop is released, right? In most cases, when you are to see, then it is a vowel, like in ba, ta, or ka, ga, right? So that's the vowel position from here, right? Which is always voiced. The vowel is always voiced, okay? So if voicing is initiated during the period or later, VOT is positive, right? When it is starting, when the voicing is initiated, when this point is crossed, right? This is the stop, the release point, right? And if it is starting earlier, right? Like when the voicing is initiated during the period of earlier, then VOT is negative. Like for example, if this voicing is starting from here, right? During this occlusion phase, then the VOT would be negative. And if it is taking place simultaneously when the release is made, right? So at the point of release, this voicing is also starting up. So if this is the point, then the VOT is 0. That's one of the very easy way to describe VOT, and it can be easily done with the help of showing waveforms, right? So that's an important point within a VOT description.